we'll start into the main meeting. For those of you that are waiting around for particular items, it could be some time before we get to the item associated with Western Springs. You're welcome to sit there and listen to the rest of it if you like. There are no...
excuse me, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I think that's a wise offer. Are you able to give the people some time indication then, if that was the case? Because I think it is a wise bit of advice.
But it depends on how many questions and how much debate we have, and I've found it very hard to do that. But I was just saying it could be quite some time. Okay, that's all I can do. Your guess is as good as mine, Councillor Watson. Okay, there's no local body input, so I'm going to move to introduce the elected members' expenses and reimbursement policy.
Mr. Mayor, would you consider, for the convenience of all those Aucklanders who have come here today, to move, as you can, move that item, the Speedway item, up the agenda, please, rather than...
Okay, I'm just checking to see that staff who were expecting to be here for this are here. So just give me a second or two, all right?
Mr. Mayor, we're just making sure that folk who need to be involved in terms of presenting are all organised for that. My suggestion is we do one item, the expenses policy first, and then at your discretion, we'll be ready by then to deal with it.
I think that might be a sensible compromise. We'll finish item 8.1 and then we'll jump to the other. But if we jumped ahead and other people who were expecting to be a bit later here aren't here, I think that gives us a chance to gather everybody together. So with item 8.1, elected members' expenses and reimbursement policy, we've had a workshop on this to get us to the point the recommendation has got to. I've put we've had a workshop, and I'd welcome Oliver, Carol and Rika, but I've put forward a new clause after working with Councillor Ferry, which is on the screen. Is it? Coming down a bit further. And Councillor Ferry, would you like to move this 8.1 and I'll second it? Okay. It's moved and seconded. Madam? At the workshop, the thing was to, under B, was to denote the disparity in treatment between Auckland Council elected members and members of Parliament on pay-related issues such as student loan repayments, KiwiSaver and ACC levies, and seek advice from council staff and the remuneration authority on how this can be addressed. Right. Okay, Oliver and Rika, take us through your presentation, please.
Okay, tēnā koutou, your worship and councillors. Ko Oliver Roberts aho. This is my colleague, Rika Carlo. Firstly, thank you for your insights and your time at the workshop that was held 2 weeks ago. That has helped shape the paper and our advice. I'll take the paper as read, but we'll give a very brief outline of the issues in it. So the paper is in response to the Remuneration Authority recommendations and includes 2 new proposed expenses, one for childcare costs and the other for home security systems. For both, we have suggested ways that could reduce the potential costs of them. For childcare expenses, we've set out 3 possible restrictions that you could consider, and we recommend adopting at least one. That is restricting it to part-time members only. This would mean that the expense is not available to yourselves as councillors or to local board chairs. Those 42 members, the roles are deemed to be full-time and are remunerated accordingly. It would be available to the other 130 local board members. Other options that are in your paper are to restrict it to those with children aged 5 and under, and a third might be to restrict it to after hours only. Please note the amounts that we've set out in the report are potential maximums only. Given the experience of other councils, the real amounts are likely to be much less. For security systems, staff strongly support the intent of providing peace of mind and security for members and their families. However, the suggestion in the Remuneration Authority allowance of a $4,500 security system is far in excess of what most members would need. So, in discussion with our council security experts, we've proposed a two-tier approach with a standard level of systems for up to $1,000 self-installed, which would suit the vast majority of members. This could cut costs, make it accessible to more members, and quite frankly, slash the administration involved. And our resources could then be focused on the very few members who might need more extensive security and advice, as might be identified through police reports or through done safe notifications. Our security team estimates this might be about half a dozen members throughout the term. Finally, I just want to note one of the queries that we had in the workshop related to verification. This is reinforced in the paper and in the draft policy itself. And just states that expenses must be justified by an original tax receipt and approved by the relevant authoriser. Thank you.
Okay, you got something to add to that? No? Are there any questions? Okay, it would appear that thank you can retire, and we'll have a discussion, see if there's any debate about this.
Good on, thank you.
Thank you for the recommendation. To be clear, actually, I must say it was good going to the workshop and getting through this. So, is there any debate on this? Councillor Baker wishes to speak.
Yes, I'm not. I mean, I don't support a few of these, but I realise I probably sit in a minority in this. But I think we need to be careful in terms of what we are able to claim for, and it should be simply to allow us to do our job. And that is, in my thinking, it's about the mileage for us to be able to get to and from, and for the likes of Greg and I, that's a substantial distance. We can take 2 hours to get from one part of our ward to the other. I don't support the ICT allowance. We get the opportunity to be provided with ICT, and if we choose not to, then that's our choice. And I certainly don't support an allowance for security. Some of us might only be here for 3 years, and I certainly don't support that. It's going too far. It doesn't look good, and so I'll be voting against it because I just don't think it's right. And so I think we're just doing the wrong. We're going too far, and I'm very uncomfortable with it.
There are two quite separate parts to this. One's to do with child support, and the other one's about safety. And I wondered whether or not people wanted to do this in two parts, because you may support one and not the other. I mean, I don't. I'm a bit old to be having 15-year-old children, but security is quite an important part, and we have had some issues with that. Councillor Henderson, please.
Yeah, and just to support what you've said, Mayor, look, I'm happy to support all of this as per. I don't need to go into specifics, but there has been some real issues with security in the past from several councillors, past and present. And in fact, I would say that all elected members have a story, and that sucks when you're trying to discharge your duty as a public official. So yeah, I support that completely. And I just wanted I was actually just going to note, Councillor Ferry, thanks for C there. I think that's spot on. As we know, ward councillors have higher responsibilities, have huge workloads than maybe some members of parliament. and yet we're treated in a more traditional way as if it's a part-time job, which it absolutely isn't. And so I 100% support C there, and I'm really glad that we're raising those issues. Thanks, Mayor.
Councillor Ferry, please.
Kia ora. I would just point out, I feel that these are things required to do the job. I note that with the childcare allowance, we've taken the most modest option that was put forward to us, which was to acknowledge that for part-timers, which is none of us around this table, but is almost all local board members, there is sometimes a requirement to attend things at times when you don't necessarily have the free cover for your kids that is provided by the school system. Maybe your kids are younger than that, or it's the school holidays, or it's the evening. And certainly my experience when I was on a local board was that there was a significant amount of work that needed to be done in times where I needed to pay for childcare. And while it wasn't a barrier for me, I know that it is a barrier for others, and even considering standing the cost of childcare. And I think what we've proposed here is actually pretty modest, considering the cost of childcare. When I had a kid under 5, and we needed some part-time support at home as well with 3 kids, it was most of my pay for my council job to pay for all of that. And that was what enabled me to do my council job. On the security stuff, Councillor Henderson's spoken to the fact that most of us, if not all of us, will have stories. I think that what staff have suggested here and what is proposed is, again, a modest way to do this. It doesn't assume that all of us need a high-tech security system. It will look at a risk assessment and make sure that those who are able to access a higher amount get the kind of support that they need. There's a lot of rigour there with receipts. I do find it weird that we accept as standard that we will pay people to drive to any work they have to do for this from anywhere in Auckland, and yet we won't cover the cost of other things that are really essential to do the job, like childcare, like being able to feel safe in your own home as a result of being targeted for doing this work. So I'm not proposing we shift away from mileage for cars. I'm just asking for some recognition that just as driving to do this work, which I personally almost never do, is covered as an acknowledged expense that allows people to do the job, so is access to childcare, so is being able to have some security support if you need it. Finally, on C, so this came out of the workshop discussion, something I undertook to discuss with the Mayor's office. I just want to note there that many people will not be aware out in I guess, the real world, that elected members pay their own ACC levies. It's not taken out of our pay as it is with most other people, including members of Parliament, that we cannot make automatic student loan repayments through payroll either. We can't access KiwiSaver. There's a range of disparities. Those are just the sort of top 3 examples that I know have been raised. It's been a bugbear for a long time, so let's get some advice on how we might resolve that. I don't think it will result in any additional costs. It's just about how those costs are processed in a way that gives us some fairness, given the size and importance of our jobs. So I'd ask people to support the motion. Kia ora.
Thank you for that. Councillor Patterson-Hemmel.
Kia ora. Thank you. Just to talk about this a little bit, I too think that this is a good, modest compromise and makes it a bit more doable. I like the addition of C because hopefully that might make the rest of it not necessary in the future. So I'm also glad that we can, in terms of the childcare and that we're sort of relieved of talking about our own situations because it will only impact ordinary local board members, of which I was one up until late last year. So it's a fresh experience. The logistics of how we're paid for me was actually the biggest barrier rather than the pay itself, and that's true for a lot of parents of young children who are trying to do this mahi, because daycare won't wait for the end of the tax year to get paid, unfortunately, and for people of my generation who often have student loans, etc., that was additional barriers. The number of women who ran for Auckland Council positions, local board and council dropped pretty significantly this election. I took a long time to decide whether or not I would do it, and security was a big part of that. I would have had hesitations if I had young children again to do it again, because I didn't realise how difficult that was going to be week on week. Being a local board member, this kind of role shouldn't be filled only by those who are the least afraid to do it. And it's very difficult for people of working age or working class to end up being local board representatives, and these are some pretty minor tweaks that might be able to address that imbalance. So I'm in favour of this.
Sayers, please.
Thank you. IRD treats elected members as self-employed, so we all have to submit an IR3 each year. We can't claim holiday pay, we can't claim sick leave, we can't claim parental leave, we don't get KiwiSaver, we have to pay our own ACC, etc. So through that IR3 form, we can make expense claims. So if the IRD, if members can convince the IRD that their security expenditure is work-related, or any other expense is work-related, they're quite entitled to claim those through that process. So I won't be supporting this motion. I believe that there are mechanisms to be able to be reimbursed for work-related expenses as decided and ruled by the Inland Revenue Department. Thank you.
Councillor Fletcher, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I wasn't going to speak to this today, but I wanted to draw. I think the passing of Sir Barry Curtis inspired me to speak, because I thought back to the mayoral forums of Legacy Auckland City and Manukau and North Shore, and a real mentor for me was George Gere, who later became a North Shore mayor. But he reminded me when I entered Parliament that it was easy to take cheap shots at things, but to look at the enduring importance of democracy. He was also a mentor to Marilyn Waring, and he wanted to see more women in Parliament. And I think I was the 31st woman to, and certainly within the National Party, I was the first Liberal woman from an urban seat. They'd had a lot of rural women, but they hadn't had many urban women. And very quickly it appeared to me that it was easy to take cheap shots on things, but that there were particular challenges that as a woman you faced, and not that I felt intimidated by anything, but I felt fearful for my family. And I've tried to encourage a lot of people to stand for Auckland Council. I've tried to encourage a lot of women to join the council. But we've never really effectively dealt with the remuneration issues in an equitable way. And Maurice Williamson and I are the only who can truly say we've both been in Parliament and we are both on this council. And on council, as has already been expressed, we are working just as hard as we ever did as ministers or as members of Parliament. And there is not a level playing field. So I fear for Auckland, and one thing that's missing from this, the assumption behind all of this, is that we're just representing our wards. If we are going to do justice to the legacy of all of those councils with this amalgamation, each of us sit around the table here as regional councillors. We are required to consider issues regionally, and we need to be fully acquainted with them. But I can't let this moment go by and say that if we are not to really consider the support that elected members require, because we cannot maintain other jobs while we are here, with the workload as it's currently presented and the governance structure that we currently have, we are doing a disservice to all of those who might come and make a valuable contribution into the future. So I really believe the time has come, if Parliament is wanting to draw the best from its premier city, as you know, is expected that Auckland will stand up and that we will take leadership roles. Democracy is going to be a huge part of that. And if the quality of our elected members is going to diminish, or if gender issues are not going to be considered going forward, then I think Auckland will be much the poorer for it. And we need to be realistic that it's a very hard thing to attract in the quality candidates that we want in this building to represent Auckland issues under the current situation, where unless you happen to be wealthy, unless you happen to be at the end of your career, it is not an opportunity for drawing the best, the brightest, and the most able talent. And so for that reason, I am channeling George Gere today and saying it would be easy to take a cheap shot here, but I'm not going to. I want to see Auckland going forward. Advance used to be under the old coat of arms. Let's advance and let's actually try and draw in the very best.
Thank you for that. Councillor Burns, please.
Just full respect to my colleagues that are parents, but I won't be voting for this. I've been a single mum. I've paid all my own daycare fees. I pay all my own security and camera fees. I pay, for the last 7 years on the local board, I never claimed any mileage. And I just feel we actually are remunerated quite well. And if you can't afford it at that time in your life, you don't do that role. So I think we shouldn't really be putting extra money on the ratepayers. And I actually have a dog, and that's security too. So can I ask for, if I can get my dog SPA fees too? Are we going to go that far? But no, I won't be supporting that. And again, respect to my female and male parent colleagues, but I won't be supporting this.
Hey, thank you. There are 3 sections to this, so I'm going to ask you to vote along that. There's the first one about remuneration about children, and you know you have them. The next one about security, and the third one highlights some of the differences between here and central government. Central government are always taking pot shots at us. You know, we're going to have a rates cap. But I know there are some issues out there that gets people so excited that they do cause alarm for sitting members. I know that the issues of dog security has resulted in some unfortunate threats to the people involved in that. And even the particular thing that we're discussing here today has also produced some unfortunate threats. In comparison, I appear often with the Prime Minister at various functions. He has 4 big burly Americans with rings in their ears, and I have a very small guy who drives the car for me when I'm not able to. And so you'd have to say that there is no equality at all whatsoever in this thing here. So, but I think that I'll definitely be supporting the security one, because it shouldn't have to happen. We should live in a society where we don't need to do that, but unfortunately we do. I think when we're going to vote, we're going to vote on this in bit. So A, which is to adopt the amended electric attachment A, the child care allowance eligibility for part-time.
By division.
A?
Division, please.
Somebody called for a division. Hand up. Who did that? Greg. Oh, Greg. Okay. Right. Well, in that case, I'll hand it over to Sandra with an R to take us through this, please. And get your computers out there. Do you want a hand there, Mr. Lee?
Your Worship, just before the vote, could you
Beg your
just, Before the division was called for, you were explaining the way in which the vote would be taken. There are some aspects to this that some of us support and some less attractive. Can you be very clear, please, on those aspects of this that we are voting on?
Thank you,
Sandra will
councillors.
just clarify this. She's handling the now it's been called a division.
Just
Okay.
clarifying how we are going to vote on this. So we are going to take clause I, which is on the childcare allowance. We'll then move on to clause A2, which is on the home security allowance. And then we will vote on the remaining clauses outstanding.
And just for clarification through your chair, the division was for each of those.
So Councillor Sayers has called a division on each part that we're going to vote on. Right, councillors, we are voting on clause A1 as you see it up on the screen. We're going to do that via resolve. So we will start the vote now.
Chair, my resolve is just rebooting, so I've used the chat to vote, if that's okay. Please.
That's fine, Councillor Foley, we have that.
Kia ora.
My resolve is not indicating a vote option to me.
Thank you, councillors. We have all the votes. That vote will be carried 12 votes to 8 with 1 abstention. Right, councillors, we are now going to vote on clause A2, which is on the home security system allowance. We're going to do that by division, and we'll start the vote now. Thank you, councillors. We have all the votes now. That vote is carried, 13 votes to 7. Moving on. Moving on, councillors, we're now going to vote on the rest of the clauses, which will be clause A3, clause B, and the new clause C. We'll do that by division, and we will start the vote now. Councillor Lee, would you like to register a vote? Councillor Lee, we can register your vote. Thank you. Right, councillors, that vote is concluded and it's carried 16 votes to 4 with 1 abstention.
Righto, thanks everybody. We've completed that item 8.1. And now we're going to go to